can see the operation. We want to see the select or maybe the retrieve part. Retrieve part we have seen. Now select the insert operation. Insert, how we can actually use model classes, entity model classes to insert data into table. Now there is a retrieval part, is this. So let me create another class. Let me transfer. Update units. So here is the program. Let me call it a main method run. Okay, so here what we are going to do is we are going to create TV context object, which is college TV context, right? Where let me call it as TV. Give sense of this. Here, so in order to insert, right? Let's say if you want to insert one student record, right, then we have to use a class which is a model class of student. We know that this is a single row, right, which means as many student records you want to add, right, then we have to actually look at as many objects you want. You have to create those many objects of student. Let's create one single object of student. We have a student, we can call this student. Now here, let's add details. Let's say roll number. So let's go back here and see what's the maximum roll number we have. So we have some roll number 9, right? So let's make it as 10. And then we have student name. So let's set some name here. And we have the phone number. So I'm just giving some type of extension or something. And then you have create date time, which is, let's say, date time log, right? Date time is a class, internal class we have. Which is system.datetime, and this date time will actually retrieve the current machine time and it will actually say, right? So we have a roll number, student name, address. Let's give the address part. So let's give some address. So here you have created an object, right, which specifies one single row in our table. Right? Now this object I have to add. Now this I have to add to my students. So I will be using a DB context that we have students, right? So it's the main DBZN dot add. And here you have to add an entity, which is a student entity or a student object or student model class, which is students. Right? Now once you add this, the collection is ready with this, which is it will actually prepare a query and is ready to save. Right? And then once you are done with all the object creation and the addition of the object to the main set, then to save changes. Right? this will actually commit your data. Now the save changes is how much raw, right? So this will actually commit your data into database. So this is how it actually works. So let's see how it's going to work. Now, after it is done, let's say on the right line. Let's see how and after right touch, we get this. Right. So initially you can see there are 9 rows. Let's get back here and let me from this. From this. Here you can see operating like this one, and which means all the rows actually got executed, and it says operating, and then click on enter it. Close. Come back here and execute. You can see the tail. Right? So this is something which here you can see that we got a row, 10th row got added, right? And then we have the data rows. Now this is something where we added one single row. If you want to continue with multiple rows, you can move on, right? And then you can continue with adding multiple rows. So this is something where we're adding it. Now, so let's see how to update or how to actually update something. So let me comment this out because I don't want to insert it again. Right. Now to update, we have to know which record I want to update. Right. So what I'm going to do here is, let's say again I'm going to get the main student. Right. So which is my list of your student. Let me call it as UJ because I have to get all the data of student which is going. And then let's see, have using context dot students. So in these students, right? Let's say I'm going to get one of the students. Let's say this is student. Now you can see, so all the details, right, all the list will actually be in the array form, right? Each of the student will be in a different index, right, because it's a list. So let's say you want to edit the fourth, you want to edit the guy whose roll number is 4, let's say, right? Then you can actually get that particular record by looping your stool. Or what you can do, we normally use link. So here, this is where we actually use link normally, right, to get data. So link part will actually see later. So as of now, let's say I know that in my third index, right, I'm getting my record to edit. So let me take the 2 here. Right? So here what I'm actually getting, I'm getting obviously of 3, which is my. And let's say I want to change the phone number of here. So just change the phone number of this string. Now let's say the phone number of change to something else. And then let's say I'm going to change the address. And now this object is connected, right, referenced to the third index of history, which means if you are doing some changes or taking this object and doing it for update operation, right, then which means you are actually referring to the main object of student, right? Now once you are done with changes, just your DB context dot save changes, right? So this will actually take care of your main changes, whatever object changes you have done, right? Where you are actually considering the changes. So this will actually update your data. Now previously you can see we have next one this, and you can see fourth index we have some address and some phone number, right? Now let's run this and see. You can see operation successful. Now let's go back to database. Remember, the address was MICT 424 and 4G, number over there. Now you can see M87, IND, and so. Right, it actually got updated based on your requirement. So this is the update which we have seen. Now let's see the next operation, which is delete. So let me comment this and let's go and see. So before commenting, I think I can use this part, right? Because this list is common because I have to know which record I want to delete, right? So that's the reason why I am taking this object here. So in this object, let's say I want to delete the last one or any index, any next one you want to delete, right? So here, so in order to delete, right, you have a direct option. Go to DB context, right, dot, from where you want to delete, you want to delete from students, dot, you have something called a view, right, view which student entity. Let's say it's which is 2 of, let's say I want to delete the fourth index, which is my, I say fourth, which is my fifth record I'm going to delete, right? So once you're done with this, then do DB context. So you can see everything that we're doing is through a context, right? Everything we need to your context types. So this is a one which is talking to DB context, right? And whatever operation you are trying to do, right, you do set over there. Now let's run this. So seems there was an exception. So let's do one thing. Let's try that exception out here. As we bring that so not right. See the email exception for details. So it says we have an exception, but we have to go into the deeper. Okay, let's put a breakpoint here and run this. So we have which is 2. We have 10 records, and I'm getting the 4th record from there. Right? So 10. I'll do save changes. So when save changes, I'll get an exception, right? So here, now what do you mean by inner exception? So I'll show you how to debug if you don't understand this. And then we're updating entries and see exception, right? So go to new detail. New detail will actually open a main window where you will be able to see our exceptions. Turn down this. We have inner exception here. See whether you are able to understand this line again. Again it says the same. Now open up again, right? And then here you may get something like inner exception. You can see here you have the delete statement conflict with the reference constraint, right? Which means there are other records in students which are related. Which means you can see here in students table we have there. Similarly, in our academics, you can see there is one more record called file, right? Which means if I delete this record, right, now I have to make sure that there are no records here. Because if you remember, in our first class, we have already seen in our entity first class that whenever you create any phonetic relationship, right, if you make sure that whenever you are deleting any row from this, if you make sure that it is not correct, and if it is correct, you do it. Same exception as it. We say that the delete statement conflict with the reference, which is FK reference with your academics, right? So that's the reason why it went out. Now, so in this situation, what we have to do, either we have to delete this, right? So while deleting, right, you have to delete all the internal recursive deletion of your records, right? So we'll see how. So before that, the student index, try to delete the 9 right, which is, let's say, the last record of your students. Then we'll get back to that, right? So let's run this. So here I'm going to delete 9, which is a 10th row. Let's run this. We have an operation that was, which means 9 indexed 1, which is a 10th row we have deleted. Now let me execute. You can see it got deleted. Now let's see how we can actually handle this now. Right. So here, so let's say you have something called. So before actually removing the students, right? Let's go ahead and get something called list of academics. Academic of context on academics.list. Right? So I know that this is academic will actually get all the academic details, right? So here what I'm going to do, let's say I'm going to delete the 4 file. Which means I know that when I'm going to delete 4, which is what I'm going to delete the number 5. Same way, here I'll have to pick the same one. Let's say here the index is same. So let's go back here and say db context academics new object bj academics. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm actually doing this part. So I'll do save changes first. I'll remove this and make sure I commit it, and then I'm trying to do adding more fields. Let's run this and see how it works out. Now you can see operation successful, right? So let's get back here, watch out the academics one, run this. Now you can see there are only 4 academic details for 4 students, and if you run this, now you can see your 5th icon. Okay? So this is how we do the delete operation. Now this is how we have all the 4 VMA types, right? You have selected, you have updated, you have deleted, you have inserted data, right? So this is a way how we can actually do. Now you can see that we are not writing any query, we are not writing any connection strings, right? We are not writing anything else, right? To actually do this operation. We are just using our model classes, right? We are just using the model classes for what we have created and their TBZ lists. Right, so that's a thing which I'm using, right, the right way to do operations. Again, your save changes is something which is a direct commit, right? So whenever you do some do, right, you can do, and when you step on the save changes, which means you're actually committing your data into the system, right? So that is your save change. So you have to be careful in doing the save changes. Now here, so this is something which is the one which we discussed, which is a schema first approach, right? And we know that schema first approach, where we created all the schemas first, and then we actually got back and we created the entity model using the database connections model, right? So now let's see the next approach which we have, the model first approach. So let's see what is our model first approach. So in the model itself you can see that model first approach, when you say, which means we will be creating our model first, which means model classes first, right? And then we'll be creating the schema. That will be actually reversing that, right here. So here, let's create a new project and see how we can actually do that, the model first one. Right? So let me go back here and upload this. So let me go to add here and so let me add a new project research. Add new project. So here I can take another application that we got as entity creator model first approach. Right, we are going to see how to create model first here, and when I say how to create model first, which means we are going to see how we can actually create flows. So here let me right click on this and say add new item. Now I'm going to set data, and here you have your area or entity model that we will just now. So here let me keep it as a starter project. So here let's create a new entity here, add new item, go to data, and now let me select entity data model. Now here let's set something called some office model, let's say. Right? Now click on add. Now this time we are going to select a model, right? Now when I say we are going to select model, which means we will have to maybe we won't be getting any schemas or anything, because we have to make sure that all the C schemas, model classes, and whatever we are going to do, right, we are actually going to add for our work. Let me click on finish. So when you finish, you can see it is not asking for any connection string or anything. It will directly go and create a model design, which is an EMX design. You can see your EMX is empty now. Right? So here what we are going to do, so we have to create our entities now. So to add entities, right click on this, you have an add new entity. That here you can see we have our entity. So here, so let's say we are going to add few things. So let me call it as in office we have some department. Right? Now this is my department, which is an entity name, Now you can see there are base types, right? You can select it as none and entity set. Now you can see this is one entity name, which is this is my actual entity or model class name, and this is a DB set, right? The collection of my entities, right? And this it actually suffix as an entity, which is you can just keep it, or if you want to change the name, you can change, not a problem. And then it will create a key property, which is your main primary key set. Right? If you want, you can actually create a key property and keep it as an item, which will where it is taken E32. If you want, you can actually change it to anything. Right? Let's keep it as OK. Now you can see your one class or one entity got created with a property or item. Right? So here we can actually create more properties. I click on this, we have add new, let's say scalar property. Right? So here let me give more details, like let's say this is a department, right? Now for a department, what will be there? Let's say department B. Right? Now here we don't know what type of department there is taken, right? So let's go to properties. I click on this on properties. Now if you go there, now you can see this is something where your office model, right, or department schema entity and the department name is a property, right? So what are the different properties you want to set? Now here you can see there are so many properties set nullable, right, which you already seen in data schema creation. Is it nullable or not? I'll say false. Now there should be something which should be entered over here, right? And we have a max length, right? Now you can see there is something called fixed length over here. This is a fixed length. Let's say if you say true, then you can actually mention your max length. Right? Either it can be max or you can set let's say 50. Right? Then if you take a max length of 50, right? And then if you have type you're taking string over here, which means let's say you can take var of 50. Right? And then you can see it's a public way of creating an entity key false, because entity key is something which is a primary key we are defined. So if you go to ID right here, now you can see entity key will be true because you have taken ID as a primary key. Right? And you can see store generation pattern as identity. Now this means that every time you add an record, the ID will be incremented by 1. Right? It is the same property which you have already seen in our derivatives. Right? When we have an identity property. If you go to design, right, this is the properties window. Now for roll number, we know that is the primary key, and then we have something called identity specification. Now here you can see we haven't set this as true, but if you want you can set it as true. If you set yes, now you can see what is increment. I mean every time you add a record, what should be the increment value and what is the seed. Seed is nothing but from which value it should start. Let's say it should start from 1, that's a seed, and then every time you add a record, it should increment by 1. That is this. Now same thing we have now. Where it automatically gives identity and increment. Here we have a department name. Same. Let's add a scalar property, okay, and just say it as something called you can just say department let's call it as I'm just taking some phone number thing here. Let's say it's a varchar and pixel level is true and max length, and just take it as 10 characters and all. Right? And then let's add one more scalar property and just say date time here, right? And if you to get that property here, let's go and say type as date type. Right, so date time property here. and you can see the default value, right? So default value, either you can give date time dot now, right? Or we can actually assign it whenever you want. Now this is your one entity you have. Save this up, right? So we have created one entity, right? Now let's create one more. Now let me call this entity as employee, right? Where let's say here we have an employees, right? And let's say you have an ID for this subject, right? And let's click on OK. Now this is your second subject, right? Now the same way, let's add a scalar properties. Let's say employee name, right? We will have properties string. Let's say it's a pixel name, for example 50. Now let's call this employee. Let's say it's a phone number, or you can actually directly take phone number. We need employee, right? So phone number will be for as 602 and max length as 17, right? And then let's create gender. Now here, let's give some string pixel length, let's say it's 2 and max length, let's do 1. Either it should be made of it 1. And then let's add a new scalar, which will create a data. And let's say these max type is date type. And says. Now here you have two different entities created. One is a department entity and one is an employee. And now how can we create the relation between these two? Right? Let's see how to do it. Right click on this, right? And you have something called add new association. Now this is something which will actually give you an option how to associate. Now you can see one department can have multiple employees, right? Now you can see the relation. The department, which is an entity, can have 1 to many, right? Many employees, right? Now you can see add foreign key properties to employee. Yes, because employee is related with my department. Now automatically when we add it, so this foreign key will be considered from department, which is an ID property, and then it will be added as a separate foreign key in our employee. Let me click on property. Now you can see here you have 1 to start, which is 1 to many, and you can see a navigation properties also got created. That is department can have employees, right? Which is a multiple employees as such, but your employee can have only one department. That's all. 1 to many we have from this way, and when you stand at employee and see you have too many people. So this. Okay, so now you have created the schema, the entities which you have, right? Now with this, right, you are ready with your classes now, with your entities now, right? Now you can see, I click on this, we have something called generate database model. Click on this now. You can see here, I think we have a major mistake here. Okay, this default value is something which I just wanted to show, I just left it. Okay. Now you don't have remove it. Go to the list. We have removed it. So let's Go to generate database from model. It says degree. Here we have the default value, and it says the value must be in a form of so and so, but I don't want a default value to this. Let me just do one thing. If I click on this and delete from all, click on this library Schema property, and then the syntax. Daytime property, service, okay, let's remove this. And you can see there are no errors now. Okay, I click on this and click on the I'm going to see it here. That's our problem. Now you can see it is asking for where should I create this. Now, which means now this model first thread will actually create a entity classes for you, right? And now it is actually creating. Now we have something that we have to come in some way. Now it won't be creating database for you, but you have to keep the database so that it will create all the objects for you in there, right? Now